You know, the more time I spend in this whole filmmaking, video editing, creator space, the more I run into little bits and pieces of bullshit that filmmakers and creators online lie to each other with. So in this one, I want to go over some of the filmmaking propaganda I'm not falling for, and I want to talk about why I think absolutely no one else should fall for it either. So I'm going to start off with the thing that's freshest in my mind, and that is people posting screenshots of their big and complicated editing timelines with 20 video and audio tracks on socials, going, haha, yeah, here's the monster timeline for the project that I'm working on. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on it because it is gonna be crazy. And then it just ends up being a what's in my camera bag video. Listen, from over 10 years as a video editor, I can tell you that this and this are functionally the same thing. The only difference is one of them is what a person does when they either saw someone else working on a really messy timeline for no reason at all, or they just want to look cool in front of people who don't know what they're looking at. But for people who do know what they're looking at, this just looks like pointless chaos. Oh, but I'm doing it to stay organized. Okay, but are you really though? Because you could have half as many tracks and just make sure that your stuff is color-coded and you would still be totally fine. And the reason this bugs me is because I just know that there are some beginner editors out there looking at something like this and subconsciously thinking that this is what pro editing looks like. And when their timeline doesn't look like that, they start worrying that their edit isn't good enough or that it's missing something, which might be the case or it might not be. And just to be clear, there are definitely people out there who would need that kind of big and complicated timeline for a project they're working on, but that is gonna be like 5% of editors. And I feel like the other 95% that post these screenshots are performative editors that just like looking at a bunch of colorful rectangles all over the place for no reason. So if your timelines don't look like that, but you're still making videos that you're happy with, don't worry about it and just keep doing your own thing. Now, in the same train of thought of doing way too much for no reason, I want to talk to the colorists out there because some of you are guilty of this as well. What is it with all of you who preach that every single color grade needs to have 20 nodes in resolve? Is this some sort of like really complicated prank that I don't know about that you're pulling on people that don't know as much about color grading? I swear, the amount of screenshots I see where someone is showing off their big and complicated node tree where 70% of the nodes never even have any sort of adjustments applied to them is mind-blowing. It is ridiculous. Oh, but George, you don't understand. I need my 17 nodes. In the first one, I have my input device transform. Then I've got my qualifiers. In the first one, I've qualified the skin. In the second one, I have qualified the green so I can bring down the saturation. And in the third one, I qualify for a psychiatric hospital because I've clearly got a problem and I need some help. Listen, I hate to break it to you, but 99% of people out there don't need 22 nodes to color grade a clip of them frying an egg. And I have no idea when and why this became a thing. Maybe it is the same as it is with the editing timelines and people just started making these super complicated node trees because they saw it from someone else online or just because they want to seem like they know more about grading than they actually do. But again, it is kind of goofy. Obviously, some colorists out there working on bigger, more complicated projects might need that sort of thing. But if you're doing it just because you saw someone else doing it, but you don't actually know why they're doing it, maybe chill out a little bit and instead of 25 nodes, try like 5 or 6 and you can probably still get a really good looking grade without turning into a crazy person that has a bunch of rectangles and squares and lines going across every single part of their resolve color page. All right, now here are a couple of quick ones that I've already talked about at some point, but I know this video is gonna upset some people, so if we're gonna burn bridges, I might as well do it right and mention them again. Rolling shutter is still not as big of an issue as a bunch of people out there are gonna try to make you believe it is. And if you're someone working on the type of projects where rolling shutter is an issue, you'll probably know about it beforehand and you'll be able to plan for it and work around it. Maybe you can rent a camera with a global shutter. Maybe you can think about how you're going to be shooting the stuff that you need to be shooting in a way where rolling shutter doesn't mess with it as much. But if you're one of the people sitting there going, oh no, this camera is horrible, it has rolling shutter. Okay, but why do you care? I don't know, the internet man told me I should. If you're one of those people, then maybe it's time you sit down and actually read about what rolling shutter is and what it does to your footage to try and figure out if you should be as scared of it as some random on social media is telling you you should be. I got a full video talking about this already, so I'm not gonna keep going with this one, but yeah, I'm a big boy and I'm not afraid of rolling shutter, and I don't think you should be either. And while we're at it, you know what else isn't a big problem? Holding your microphone. And just because I know this is really gonna piss some people off, I'm gonna hold these two for the rest of this segment, and I'm not gonna record on either one of them. Oh, but you look unprofessional, you look stupid, just clip it to your shirt, what are you doing? You're ruining my day. Listen, buddy, reality check. If you've got the free time and the energy to worry about how a random person on the internet is holding their microphone, you've got way too much free time on your hands. And if you've got the free time to even go as far as to leave a comment complaining about it, it is such a terrible use of free will, and you really need to find something better to do with your time. Again, I got a video going into this, but the short version is, it is not that serious. And if you feel like it is for you, I think you might have a bigger problem in general than what the random internet person is doing with their mic. And here's another one that I've talked about before. Don't forget, guys, story is king. If you don't have a story, why are you even making the thing you're making? Don't start before you have your story figured out. Listen, I am totally okay with story being a very important part of the stuff that you're making. But also, if not having a story is entirely holding you back from just going out and creating stuff whenever you feel like it, don't worry about it. You are totally allowed to just go out and make some good-looking visuals for fun, even if your favorite influencer is telling you that that's a pointless thing to do. Because pointless visuals are still gonna be worth so much more than just sitting there waiting around for 5 months not doing anything until you come up with a story. And while we're talking about story, and I'm gonna need you to pay really close attention to this one, slapping a dramatic, vague voiceover with cliche statements that doesn't actually say anything more than surface level BS onto your video is not the same as having a story. A vague, dramatic voiceover is just a lazy replacement for a story. And like I said, if you don't have a story, that is okay. Just let me watch the nice clips with some well-picked music and maybe some sound effects, and we're good. I know that you want to make it cinematic, but listening about how going to Bali or Iceland for the 17th time was the most life-changing experience for you is not it. But I said the magic word. I said cinematic. So here's another piece of filmmaking propaganda that I think needs to stop as soon as possible. People making videos telling me how this lens makes every moment cinematic. No, it doesn't. Okay, but this color grade turns your life into a movie. No, I don't think it will. If you want your stuff to look, and more importantly, feel cinematic, you're gonna need a lot more than just a lens. Locations, lighting, set design, wardrobe, actors, music choices, sound design, I can keep going. Okay, you're right, but my color grade though, you need to see it. It is revolutionary. In my first node, I've got my input device transform. In the second one, I've qualified the skin tones. And in the third one, this is crazy, I've qualified the greens. And then at the end of it, on the 20th node, it is the most important part. I've got my secret sauce. No, you don't. The sauce is publicly available. You just tweaked a couple of settings in Resolve that other people also have access to. And like, I'm not against selling your power grades or your LUTs, because if they're well made and if people like them and they do what they're supposed to, then I got no issues with it. Make your digital products, market yourself with them, sell them, make money, make a living. That is totally fine. What I do have a problem with is the creators who try to lie to their audience by telling them that their color grade, their LUT is the best one. It is different than all of the other stinky ones out there. All of the other ones, they only get you 50% of the way there, but mine is gonna get you all the way there. Mine is the one-click solution to every single color grading problem you have ever had. But at this point, I'm pretty sure that we're all aware that that is not the case, and I find it so cringe when creators try to frame it that way. Just be honest. Be like, this is my color grading workflow. These are the results that I can get out of it. If you have similar looking clips, maybe you can pick it up, support the channel, and also save yourself a little bit of time. And also, can we please stop telling people everything is always a game changer? Every week there is a new game changer. Can the game stay the same for one week. I can't keep up anymore. Because seriously, the thing you're talking about might be great, it might be complete garbage, but I can tell you with 99.9% certainty that the game will remain the exact same as it was last week and the week before that. But with all of that in mind, another way that filmmaking influencers lie to you is when they give out blanket statement pieces of advice about which piece of gear or which digital tool is the absolute best, without asking about any additional context. That is cringe. Stop doing that. This camera is the best, that lens is the best, this is the best LUT in the world. Oh, but my favorite film emulation plugin is the one that's being used by Company 3, and that's why it's the best, but the one that you like, the one that works for you, it's not being used by Company 3, so it's garbage. Okay, bozo, that is great, but let me introduce you to a concept that I like to call individual needs and use cases. And it is the craziest thing where people in different situations need different things to get the job done. So what works for me or for another creator out there might not work at all for a random person who's watching our content, and something that works perfectly for them might not work for us. And that's exactly why I set a rule for myself that any of the products or services I ever mention on the channel need to be stuff that I genuinely like and see myself using them long term. But it's also why I make it a point in every video where I'm talking about a product or a service or whatever to tell people to really think about whether something will work for them and for their use case, and not to just blindly trust me and go and get it because I said that I like it or I said I can recommend it. And I talk to a bunch of creators regularly who seem to have a very similar mindset about trying to be objective and honest with the stuff they feature, but I also see a lot of creators out there who don't seem to care about that stuff, and they just post straight up doo-doo on the timeline, but they do it with so much confidence and authority, even though it is very clearly that what they're posting is unhelpful BS. And finally, my personal favorite piece of filmmaking propaganda. Just buy my course, because you're gonna get so much more value out of it than all of the other courses out there. Yeah, I haven't created anything and I have no credibility, but you can just spend the low price of 80% of your net worth, and I can promise you, in 6 months, you're gonna have your dream filmmaking career. How about you shut the f up?